Jiggy cat on a damn feeling spree. This is Nagato, and you can't mimic my energy. 100 rounds drawn and me hanging like a centipede.
Yo, it's me Nagato and welcome back to the channel. For today we're going to be jumping back into the PS4 scene and taking a look at the latest jailbreak exploit for 7.55 firmware. If you are familiar with the PlayStation 4 scene, you might know there are some benefits when upgrading to a new firmware, since when a new exploit has released, this allows users to play games that require higher firmware. So since we're dealing with 7.55, games such as NBA 2K21 and FIFA 21 for example, you can play on that said firmware without like downporting that actual game. If you are interested on how to verify which games are supported for 7.55 or lower, there is a site called PS4 Game Firmware Database developed by DefaultDNB, which showcases which games are from 7.55 or higher. With that being all out the way, we're going to go ahead and get started on talking about everything you need to know, so additional information and disclaimers and prerequisites for this video. If you just want to go ahead and get started on the tutorial part of this video, you can check out this timestamp here on the screen. But with that getting all out the way, here are some disclaimers that I want you guys to know before we get started. So this video showcases the full process on how to successfully update your PS4 from 6.72 firmware to 7.55, which is the latest jailbreakable firmware as of April 2nd 2021. We'll be also using the Azif's WebKit exploit host to get our device fully modded. Some other additional information that I will be showcasing in today's video, I'm going to teach you guys on how to block updates from your PS4. So when you're on 7.55 firmware, your not PS3, but your PS4 won't be getting any updates from the PSN servers. So if you try to launch it to a game sometimes, or try to go online for whatever reason, basically if you're on HEN and Mira, I'm going to teach you guys on how to block said updates, and I'm going to tell you guys on how to initially jailbreak your PS4 for offline and online usage. Some other things to know that I want to state right now: this video guide is only for users who are on 7.55 firmware or lower. So if you're on the latest version, which I think as I'm recording is 8.03, you cannot downgrade your PS4 any type of format. If you're on 6.72 like me, you could go ahead and update to 7.55. So if you're on anything lower than 7.55, like if you're still on 5.05 firmware, 4.55 or anything like that, and you want to go and jump and update, you can do this as well. Additionally, this exploit works on all model PlayStation 4, so whether if you have the original or a slim model or a pro model, I'll be using my PS4 Pro for this tutorial. You're basically good to go. Some other things that I do want to state: if you're on 7.55 once again, and like you're on a higher firmware or 8.03, there's no easy method to downgrade to a lower firmware on retail models. I know there are some ways, and I'll probably have like a little screenshot on the screen, but it takes a lot of time, and basically requires you to basically have a dump of your system firmware or something like that, and it requires the end user to like solder and stuff, so it's not a easy feat by any means. So basically, another thing I would want you guys to know: if with this exploit will not allow users to be on PSN, so you'll still be using just your PS4 offline. This will not grant you PSN access. Additionally, with everything out the way in terms of just some disclaimers, here are all the prerequisites we'll need for today, and anything that I'll state will be in a link in the description down below. So you need a PlayStation 4 that is on firmware 7.55 or lower, as stated before. You need a PSC to download any of the files I state today. You also need a 7.55 firmware update file, which I'll show you guys on how to get that. Since we're going to be using Azif's DNS WebKit exploit, we're going to be needing to input these DNS ports into our network settings, and I'll show you guys on how to do that later on in the video. You also need a USB stick that is formatted to either EXFAT or FAT32. So what we're going to do is take the 7.55 firmware update, put it onto our USB, and update our system via for that way. Additionally, what we're going to do for the last thing is, before we actually put the update to our system, we're going to verify it with MD5 Checker. And I always recommend this when you update your system, whether it be from a Vita, PS3 or PS4. This just verifies the the MD5 hashes and the quality of your update. So if it's corrupted or if it's the wrong file, you know for sure that you're downloading what you're downloading before you put it on your system. With that getting all out the way, I do apologize if my intro was long in advance, but let's go ahead and get started on the PS4 and PC side of things. Alright, so as of right now, let's go ahead and start on the PlayStation 4 side of things. I'm already assuming that you did follow everything that I stated in the prerequisites, but what we need to do as of right now is go to our system settings and verify that our firmware is lower than 7.55. So the way on how to do that is to go into our system pane, go into system information, and then as you can see here where it says system software, mine is on 6.72. Note if you're on 5.05 or anything lower basically from 7.55, you are good to go. But if you're on 8.03, go ahead and just stop this tutorial here because there is no way or method on how to downgrade your system as of current. But what I'm going to do right now is back out from here. Another thing we need to verify before we get ready to install the 7.55 firmware update is to go into automatic downloads, and we're going to verify that all of these checkboxes here is unticked. So if yours is ticked like this, make sure everything is unticked because we're going to not try to download anything from the PlayStation Network servers, because if you try to update your PS4 while these settings are still enabled, basically you run the risk on having your system to update to the latest firmware, which can basically allow you to not have any exploits and hacks, so everything will be patched out. But right now just verify that your screen looks like this, and once you do that, what we're going to do is go on to the PC, get the 7.55 update downloaded, and we're going to go onto the PlayStation 4 to get everything set up. So I'll meet you guys for that. Alright, so as of right now, we're back onto the PC. What you should already have done before this process is just verify that your PlayStation 4 is under 7.55 firmware. Now what we're going to do is just go ahead and download our firmware. But before I show you guys on which websites to get the 7.55 firmware for, here is just some supplemental readings that I think is necessary for this process. So if you want to learn more about the Mira CFW for PS4, here is a release article page from Wolonet. I will have this article in the link in the description down below. So if you want to check out the GitHub page, and if you're a developer, then you could go ahead and check that out. But regardless, what I'm going to do just to make this video a little bit faster is showcase on where to get your firmwares from. So there's two main sites that I usually recommend to get PS4 software from, and this one right here is from Darth Sterny, and he has basically an archive of all firmwares for the PlayStation 4. What I want to state, please do not deal with anything from patch firmwares, anything with beta firmwares, or anything that is a test kit or development firmwares. Make sure you're under the column where it says official firmwares, and we're going to be downloading the 7.55 firmware. What you could do is just go to archive.org under this tab link and just click download. You can use any web browser of your choice, and it will download to your PC wherever directory it's at. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that out since I already have the update on my desktop. But what we're going to do as well, another website if you want to download your PS4 software from, same thing, se.party, which is another website I highly recommend. You could go into this category right here, download 7.55. It will tell you the file checksum, and if we go back here, it matches up with this one, so which is F70. All you got to do is just download, and it'll take you to a mega link to download that firmware. So those are just two websites. So if one is down, or whichever you want to use, it's totally fine for this process. But when your firmware is fully downloaded, what we're going to do is go ahead and check the OnlineMD5 hash. So once your PS4 update.pub is downloaded, it will look something like this. It should be 449 megabytes if we check from this site right here. So this is just like the file size. You can see here in this Windows pane, it says the file size is 449 megabytes. What we're going to do before we even transfer this over to our USB of choice, what we're going to do is verify the OnlineMD5 hashes. So right here, this is a website that I use, and this basically checks the MD5 hash checksum of the file. So basically, if you want to make sure your file is not corrupt and it says what it is, that's all you got to do. So right now I'm just waiting for the process to do, so it's uploading to the server. And what should happen if you go back from the PS4 Darth Sterny site, you could go and take this MD5 hash and it will basically check if it has the same hash data. So right now I'm just waiting for it to do its thing. Once it's fully done, your hash should check out with this basically this line of code here. If it's not the same, go ahead and re-download it from whether Darth Sterney's website or SCE Party, because that means you either downloaded the wrong firmware or it's corrupted in some shape or form. But in this case, I got the check mark, so I am good to go. What we're going to do now is go ahead and toggle back to the desktop real quick. So right now, let me go into the PS4 update.pup and I'm gonna go into my USB drive of choice. So right now, here is my dummy USB drive. You'll need one for this process, as I stated in the prerequisites. We just want to verify that it's formatted to either EXFAT or FAT32. In this case, mine is already formatted to FAT32, but let's say if your USB drive is on NTFS, be sure to go ahead and back up your data if you have anything important on your USB drive. So whether if you want to use a cloud or just drop it to your desktop or to another external device, do so ahead of time, because anytime you reformat your hard drive on Windows, it'll basically erase all your data. So I do want to go ahead and state that disclaimer. But in this regard, what we're going to do is go and right click over our USB drive. We're going to go into format. Yours, if it's on NTFS, just go into EXFAT. Allocation unit size, it really doesn't matter. I just usually put default allocation size. Volume label, that is just the label of your USB. In this case, I'm just going to keep mine as PlayStation 3 HEN, since I mess around with stuff for the HEN on this USB drive. But regardless, you can name it to anything you want to. Format options, make sure you hit quick format, because if you don't, it will take a very long time to reformat your device. So right now, I'm going to hit start. Once again, it's just reiterating what I was stating before. So formatting will erase all data on this disk. To format the disk, just click OK. To click cancel. So in my regard, once it's done, it will pop up a window on the screen that says format complete, and then hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is go back into my Windows pane, go into PS3 HEN or whatever my USB drive. What we're going to do is create a folder in all capital letters called PS4, and then once again we're going to go create another folder called update in all capital letters, and we're just going to drag the PS4 update.pub to this USB drive. No, it won't take too long since it's only 400 megabytes. This USB drive I am currently using is only 2.0. If I had a USB 3.0 drive, it would have been way much faster, or 3.1, but just for this guidance tutorial, a USB 2.0 drive is fine. You could also use an external HDD, but what I'm going to do now is cut the video once it's done, and then I'll showcase back here on how the file directory should look back on your USB before we get started on the PS4 side of things. Alrighty, so as of right now, we're back onto the PC once again. My firmware has successfully transferred over to my USB device. Once again, the file directory should be set up as PS4 update, and then inside the update folder, PS4 update.pub in all caps. Once you have that all done, we're going to go to the PC, plug in our USB into whatever port on our PlayStation 4, and then update our system. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so as of right now, we're back onto the PlayStation 4. We should have our USB device plugged into one of our USB ports on our PlayStation 4, which is what I have right now. And now we're ready to go and get started on the update part of this tutorial. Once again, let's just verify in the automatic downloads pane that everything is deselected. So from feature content, system software update files, allow restart, and as well as application update files, make sure these are not ticked, because we want to verify that our PlayStation 4 will not update to the latest firmware. Next thing what we need to do is go out of system, go out of settings once again, and we're just going to verify that our network is disabled. If your thing is enabled like this, go ahead and just select it, because what we need to do is verify that none of our PlayStation 4 is hitting the PSN network servers, so we can verify that our device will successfully update to 7.55. So right now what we're going to do is go ahead and hit circle, and we're going to go into system software and system software update, go ahead and click X. And right now it just found that my system version was available, which is 7.55. Just go ahead and hit next, and then it says the system software on the PS4 will be updated. The PS4 will restart once the start update. So right now be sure that your PS4 is plugged in. Make sure you're not on your network settings or anything of that nature, as I stated before, because you could run into some issues like your PS4 may accidentally update to 8.03. So be sure not to restart your PS4 in any of this instance, because it could brick, or the hard drive may fail or something may go wrong. So right now I'm just going to update, and it's pretty much going fast. So it's copying the update to this firmware, and right now it's preparing to install. So what I'm going to do for this process is not even cut out this footage. I'm just going to let it play on the screen. So I'm going to mute my microphone right now just to showcase the full operation process. But once I probably edit out this video, I will have a timestamp to where you guys get skipped, so we could just proceed on setting up our Azif DNS settings onto our PlayStation 4. So I'll meet you guys once this is fully done. Alrighty, so as of right now, my PlayStation 4 is now restarting. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and verify that my PlayStation 4 is on 7.55 firmware. So that's what I'm doing here. Hopefully, it will do its thing. Alright, so right now it's just rebuilding its database, which is pretty normal for the situation. And voila, it just said that my system firmware version is on 7.55. So let me just turn on my PS4 controller. And what we're going to do now is go into our settings. We are going to go to system settings once again, system information, and you can see here that my system software firmware is on 7.55, which means now if I ever put a 7.55 disk in my PS4 system, it will just one route any issues and will not ask me to basically update. So right now what we're going to do is go ahead, and if you ever have Al Azif's DNS setup, if you want 6.72 or 5.05, sometimes it doesn't really work if you just go straight into your settings and and user guide. So what I like to do is clear the web browser cache before getting started on, updating my system firmware. So this is optional, but I highly do recommend following along with this. So what we're going to do is go into our internet browser. Our Wi-Fi is off right now, so if you have this error, that is totally normal. Go into options, and now what we want to do is go into settings. We want to go and delete cookies. Just go ahead and hit OK and clear website data. Once we have done that, we're going to go and back out from settings once again. We're going to go into network settings. Go ahead and go to connect to the internet. And we're going to go and set up a internet connection. Now I'll be using the use Wi-Fi option. If you're going to be using a LAN cable or Ethernet, that is totally fine as well. But for this, I'm going to be using Wi-Fi. The second option is asking you on how do you want to set up your internet connection. Go ahead and hit custom. And now choose your Wi-Fi network. So right now, I probably will block out the screen so I don't want to, give out my SSID name. But I'm going to go and type in my password for my internet. And then once you've done that, just go ahead and hit OK. We're going to need to set up the DNS settings so we could connect to our Azif's DNS. So right now, I am just waiting for that. So what I'm going to do is go into automatic for your IP address, where it says DHCP host name, do not specify, manual. Here are the primary and second DNS settings that you need to do. So the first primary DNS, the way on how to type is just hit X, and you need to type in this exact DNS. So 165.227.83.145. Once you got that done, just hit R2 on your controller. Second DNS, which is the secondary DNS server for our Azif's exploit host, go into 192.241.221 and 79. Once you have both of those servers done, just go ahead and hit next. MTU settings, hit automatic, do not use, and then test your internet connection. So right now I am just waiting for my thing to obtain my IP address and then just get connected to the internet settings, or excuse me, to the internet connection. So right now mines were both successful. So what I'm going to do is go back out from here. We're going to go into our user guide / helpful info, user guide again, and we should see our Azif's DNS being redirected from the guide menu. So right now it's catching the theme, and then it just says welcome to the new exploit host. This message will only display once until it's changed server side of your cache is cleared. Important relevant news will be delivered now here. So you just X out this menu. What I do recommend before starting this up, I'm going to show you guys on how to set this up for the offline process. So without a network connection to get access to this website, I do recommend to cache all of this stuff. So basically, let's say if you take your PlayStation 4, your modded one to your friend's house, you could have all of the payloads and everything cached into this web browser. So if you don't have a network connection, you don't always have to rely on Wi-Fi to get access of this website. So right now it takes a little while to cache. If it takes too long, just go ahead and restart your PlayStation 4 and then just do this process here. But right now it takes a while because it's trying to basically save all the data in terms of all the payloads from 4.05 all the way to the latest payloads for 7.55. So once all of this is basically done, what we will do is run the PS4 firmware from 7.55, since we already got that fully set up on our end, since we're on that highest firmware. So basically, hopefully this guide wasn't too hard essentially to updating your PS4. Simply you're just taking the USB, putting the update on your console, and then going from there. But sometimes I just like to make thorough tutorials so you guys could understand from start to finish. Since it seems like it's taking a little bit long now, I am going to cut the video right here, and then once it's fully done, we'll come back and showcase the rest of the steps. Alrighty, so as of right now, my PlayStation 4 payloads have already been cached in via with the Azif's exploit host. What we're going to do now is go to the PlayStation 4 tab where it says 7.50 to 7.55 and just launch that payload here, or excuse me, go into that tab. The payload we're going to launch is called GoldHEN. As I'm recording, we're going to be using version 1.1, which has better stability than our original version as I'm recording this video as of today. All we got to do is hit X to launch GoldHEN. One thing I do want to state, the stability overall is not as good as like 5.05 firmware or 6.72. But what I will showcase here is if you get like this Mira out error that was showcased on the screen, all you have to do is just keep on relaunching the payload. My usually tip with this, if it takes over than like 10 tries, go ahead, close out of the browser, go and restart your PlayStation 4. But what needs to happen is there will be a white screen and it'll be basically some text on the screen that will state when the payload is launching. So right now, as you can see, it's giving me a little bit of trouble right now. What I may do is cut the video once it's at like a stable place, and then we're going to proceed on to check out our debug settings as well as other stuff to make sure this payload is launching just fine. So I'll meet you guys just for that. Alrighty, so as of right now, you can see here that HEN is now loading on the actual web page itself. So once you get the fake validation message on your screen, just leave your PlayStation 4 on standby. If you get a kernel panic right now, just go ahead and relaunch HEN once again from the Azif's payload. But right now, what you should do is just leave your PS4 controller on standby. And once you know when the official payload is done, you will have a notification on the left side of your screen stating that the payload has finished. And then additionally, you will see a kind of a gray prompt message that will say you're all set. So that's it right there. Once again, just wait for the launching payload client, and once you see GoldHEN version 1.1 has loaded, what we're going to do is just go ahead and launch back out to our main menu of our PS4 and then check into debug settings. So right now, that's what I'm just waiting for it to do. Let's go to our settings. We're going to scroll all the way down to debug settings on our unit. Then you can see here we have all of the official debug settings like you would normally have once you initialize the payload, like if you want 5.05 firmware and stuff like that. What we also going to do is check that our Homebrew and our games are working. So right now I'm just going to go and launch any Homebrew application. So I'm just perusing through the main menu right now. I'm going to go ahead and launch Gran Turismo 4 on Mazda MX-5 edition. This was a prototype PS2 game copy, so right now I'm just seeing if it works. This is a normal error for PlayStation 2 classic games running if you're using like a homebrew version of it. So right now you can see that Gran Turismo 4 is now booting on my system. And now the next game we're going to be testing, or excuse me, not game, we're going to be checking out a homebrew application. So let me just go and quit out the game really quickly. So we're going to use this homebrew application, PS4 Tools. I'm not too sure if this will fully launch, but let's just see. The only reason why I'm thinking this will have some issues is due to like compatibility issues with the homebrew, since this was originally for I think 6.72. But let's see if it launched. So far it looks like it's doing good. And I think I had a proof of concept version while testing this, so I'm not too sure if this PKG will work. But you can see here it launches. Oh, well, here's the error, so there may be a compatibility issue. However, you can still see that the homebrew is launching. The last thing what I'm going to showcase here now is Crash Bandicoot. So that's the PSX game here. So let's see if it's launching. So far so good. It got to the boot screen. But yeah, you can see that, you know, all of my homebrew applications slash like games that I did install on this PlayStation 4 is now working. This is Crash Bandicoot running on the PlayStation 4. It'll be really cool to see if, you know, PlayStation Classics were like this originally on the PS4, like if Sony sold them. But yeah, with homebrew applications, you could run PS1 titles. If you guys are on 6.72 firmware and you want to learn how to run PS1 titles, I will have a card right here for that video. But yeah, essentially, this is how you know, check to make sure all of your homebrew applications are running, and now you've successfully jailbroken your system on 7.55. So with that being all out the way, my name is Nagato's Revenge, and thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Hey everyone, it's me, Nagato's Revenge here. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. With that being out the way as well, I highly do recommend that y'all guys go ahead and follow my social media so you never miss any of the latest hacking guides and tutorials on my channel. By subscribing to me and hitting that notification button as well is another method on how you will know when I drop my latest content, whether it be for the Vita, PS4, PS3, and such and so forth. As well, if you want to be in the mix of things and you want to join my official community, you could join via the link right now showcased on the screen and join my Discord that way. And if you do want to support my channel in any shape or form, you could become a patron. I will have a card right now. But with all of that getting out the way, hope you guys really did enjoy this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Of course, I love the llamas.
Nice and silky smooth.